Hello, everybody. Love Wrestling. Thursday morning, September 12th, 2024, 10 a.m. You know what it means. Drew's here. I'm here. It's AEW day for us here on Firmly Love Wrestling, and we are going to get after it today. We have a little bit of All Out. I don't think it's going to be, All Out passed 5 days ago. We're going to go over it. We're going to tell you our opinions, but I don't think we're going to get super duper deep in it because you guys, it's been a little bit, and last night's Dynamite was very eventful. So I do want to make sure we have enough time to really dive deep into Dynamite last night. But I obviously want to go over All Out a little bit. But I wanted to kind of make sure that we had plenty of time to talk about some of the angles and some of the things we saw on Dynamite last night, because I thought it was a very eventful and story-driven episode of Dynamite last night. But first and foremost, per usual, Drew, how are we doing this Thursday morning?
I'm very shiny right now.
You are very shiny. That was it. That was pretty shiny, dude.
Yeah. Good. I'm good. How are you doing today?
We're doing good. We are ready to rock. We are ready to go. Have a good time here talking some AEW. So obviously this past Saturday, we had All Out from the Now Arena. Technically, they called it Chicago, but it's not Chicago. It's a little bit outside Chicago, but it was in the Chicago area. First impressions, Drew, before we start talking about the individual things that stuck out, what we liked best, what we didn't jive with. Overall, how did you feel about All Out as a show?
Phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was one of the better ones they've put on, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I thought it was excellent. I thought it was a really, really top-notch. And we say that a lot about AEW pay-per-views. I feel like even if the builds are kind of like, we're like, when the show happens, we're usually like, that was great.
I feel confident saying this was the best All Out since 2021.
Yeah. I think recency bias. I think this is one of the better pay-per-views that AEW has ever put on. I thought it was excellent. I thought there was one match, which we can talk about if we get there. I'm not going to dictate it, but I thought there was one match that was good, and I thought all the rest of the matches were great to excellent. And that's kind of how I felt about the whole show. I thought every match was at least good, but most of them were great to excellent. I thought that we saw a Dynamite angle that was continued last night on Dynamite. No pun intended there. But we saw a great story angle at All Out, and then, that main event, or the unsanctioned main event, however you want to look at it, between Swerve and Hangman. I think it hit for me. It's kind of hard for them to top what they've already done, but I thought, for the unsanctioned lights out main event, I thought it was brutal, it was beautiful, and it was, how I feel about Hangman. Him getting the win made me feel good. But yeah, I thought, I agree with you. I thought it was one of the best pay-per-views AEW has had. Easily, I think the best pay-per-view they had this year.
I just wish it started better. That was fair. My one gripe, which, if we're going to if we're just get into.
Yeah. I don't want to go match by match because it's been 4 or 5 days. Everybody's kind of heard so I want to talk about the main of the cage match. I want to talk about the angle that happened at the end of the world title match. and just maybe like, like what are the things that stuck out to you? And if you're, you're starting with something that maybe didn't.
I want to get the negative out of the way.
Okay, we can do that.
No, there was no reason to do MJF and Daniel Garcia if it turns out Daniel Garcia hasn't resigned, and you were just gonna try and. I'm not gonna say that this is what actually happened, but from what I've read, it kind of seems like they were gonna have him go over so that he would resign.
I don't think it seems like it. I think that is what was going to happen. They were going to put him over. Then he.
We don't know. We don't know for sure. We don't know for sure.
Yeah,
but it seemed, after the match, I was really after him coming back. I mean, I was so hyped up because I'm like, he's back. The typical playbook. We talked off air about this. The typical playbook of. Or maybe on air, I don't remember. Of AEW, the typical playbook is you are either your contract's coming up and you haven't resigned yet, or you don't want to work here anymore and you want to go somewhere else. So we never see you again on television.
Yep.
So it was like, okay, we mentioned off air. I know we mentioned off air Ricky Starks. We mentioned like Miro and
Wardlow.
These are guys that clearly have issues right now with the company.
Mm-hmm.
Not that that's been reported. I'm just saying from what I'm seeing.
Yep.
Or kind of the better thing to say is what I'm not seeing, which is them on television.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when they're not on TV, it's either because they're not happy with the creative and they want something else done, or their contract is coming up and they haven't resigned. So Daniel Garcia's contract is coming up and he hasn't resigned. Now he's on TV. It's like, oh, well, he's resigned because he's on TV. So I was so happy when I saw him at All In. He came back. He cost MJF the match. He then is on TV, cuts an impassioned promo about
great promo
MJF and wanting to kill him and break his neck. They did the go home angle of MJF getting the comeuppance. And then they have the match.
Great match, dude.
Really
it was a good match.
It. Yeah. It was a really good match.
Really good match. A little bit too much of a snot and spit for me, personally. Just a smidge. But the match itself, great match. Great opener to the show. Great opener.
Until the end.
Yeah. But, all right. Yeah, I'm going to let you finish because I think we're going to talk about this for a few minutes too. So, go ahead.
And I said, oh, what?
Yeah.
Because the whole build was Daniel Garcia is winning this match. It was obvious.
That's what I thought. But when I talked to you and I were in agreement. I was like, this is setting up for Daniel Garcia to get a huge win over MJF. And like, I saw that too. But a lot of other people, we did a couple other previews last week besides you and I doing our stuff. And everyone else was on the other side. They were like, no way, MJF's not losing two PLE matches in a row. They're not going to do that with MJF. And I'm like, but it doesn't matter with MJF. He could lose 5 in a row. It literally doesn't matter. He's MJF. Like, it's not
right.
I was like, it does so much better for Daniel Garcia to win this match than MJF. Like, MJF can lose and he's still MJF on Wednesday for Dynamite. If Daniel Garcia beats MJF, he's in a different stratosphere come the next time we see him because he just beat the guy, and
yeah.
But it does seem like that. Now, again, I know you said you prefaced it. We don't know. I understand that, but I the way that I speak, it is what it is. And yeah, Johnny, you said it right here. According to Sean, which he's the guy that
Well, that wasn't ironically as amazing as Sean is, and I work for Sean, so I'm not kissing ass. I'm not,
Yeah.
it wasn't Sean that I heard that from at first
Yeah.
on Sunday.
But it seemed
So,
like it was one of those things where he wasn't signed, but they felt, again, this is just from stuff that I've heard and read, okay? All right, this is not 100% fact. We're never probably going to really know, but you got to speak in what we know, right? And from what I know from talking to people and reading probably similar things to what you read, it seemed like everybody in the chat, Johnny, Andy, Scott, Dare Amazing, welcome all in, gang. We're talking Daniel Garcia, a little bit of All Out, and then we're going to be diving into Dynamite here in a few minutes. But it seemed to me that he still isn't signed, from what we know. He wasn't signed clearly when they brought him back, but they felt good about it. They felt good about where they are, and they were going to have him go over. That was what, they were going to have him go over. And then by the time All Out happened that day, I have heard from some reliable sources that they kind of had Daniel Garcia in like the corner of the locker room, kind of trying to get him to re-sign before the show on Saturday. Hey, you sure? Kind of thing. And he said, whatever he said, I'm good with where I'm at. I feel good, blah, blah, blah. And they said, okay, we're changing the finish because we don't know your future. You haven't signed yet. We don't feel comfortable putting you over. We're going to put MJF over. Now, they did the thing after the match because MJF is apparently going to film a movie, so he's not going to be on TV for a little bit. Even more reason to put Daniel Garcia over. Whatever, not my company. But again, I don't know the full details, but it almost feels like to me that they were going into this match and they were going, hey, we really want you to stay here. And Garcia is like, okay, I'm not saying I'm not going to stay here, but right now I'm not for whatever his reasons are. I'm not signing right now.
Personally, I think he's waiting for the new Warner deal.
Probably, because he probably will make more money if AEW is all of a sudden making more money. And if I was him, I would be using both. I'd be saying, hey, I'm staying here. I'm going there. Use them for as much money as you can get, Daniel. Get your bag. Do it. I don't care.
Absolutely.
That's what this is about. Like, get as much money as you can get. I have no problem with Dan. It's the same thing in any sport. I got no problem with anybody testing the market, seeing what they can maximize their value, and then trying to get more if he does want to stay. That's part of the game, man. But if you're running a major angle in your company and you have a decision where you're like, hey, we're going to put this guy over, but only if he re-signs with this company. If he doesn't, we're not. That is a bad precedent to set, I think. I understand. Kind of. I don't know. We talked about it off air after Firmly WWE on Tuesday, and I said if I was Daniel Garcia, and this is just me, this is a JPJ brain. If I was Daniel Garcia and I was on the fence or still thinking about re-signing somewhere, and you were like, hey, man, we're going to bring you back on TV. We got this hot angle. It's with MJF, and you're going to beat him at All Out. I'd be like, all right, cool. Yeah, I like the vibe of that. Like, that's cool. And then if we got 2 days before All Out and you were like, hey, are you going to resign? And I was like, hey, I'm still thinking about it. And you were like, all right, you're not beating MJF now. He will putting him over then. I would not want to resign with your company.
Right. Now,
that's just me
also,
personally. That's just me personally.
After we had that conversation, I was going over it in my head. Is it possible that this was always the plan, and it wasn't that he was coming? We knew that he was supposed to win.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, did they have him come back knowing that he wasn't going to resign, and he already knew that? Like if the both of them had talked already, and it was like, yeah, okay, well, let's do this angle. Although the changing the finish thing is kind of throws a wrench into that, because why then change the finish? So
that's what, exactly.
It's as much as I enjoy this company, sometimes decisions are made that puzzle me. This is one of those decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like Daniel Garcia winning the match was the right decision to make. And like I said, I understand If you don't know, do you want to put somebody over one of your top guys if he's going to be on a new company? We have Logan popping in there. He's talking about the Motor City Machine Guns debuting on NXT on I assume he means CW there. Is that one of those things where Tony's like, look I want to put you over, but I don't know where you're going to be. And I don't want to put you over, our top guy, our face of the company, if in a month I'm going to see you on a different channel, on a different company show. Like, that's not going to look good for us.
And unfortunately, I understand that.
I do too.
I do too. It's shitty as a business perspective, but if you're trying to protect your brand, listen, the most infamous version of that happened in '97.
Yeah, it did.
So, you haven't re-signed with us. You have a championship, and that led to the Montreal Screwjob. So
yeah, this is nothing new. It's just one of those things where it's like, again, like, to me, if you're, and I don't know if they ran this angle, like trying to, hey Daniel, this is how we view you. Like, we think you're in this same category as MJF and Will Ospreay, and that's how we view you. We want you to stay here. That's how we view you. We're going to put you in a major angle with MJF at our All Out before All In was kind of their biggest show. It's
how ironic, by the way, that same person that I was just mentioning happened to be on Raw this past Monday.
Yeah. So it's just kind of one of those things where it's just like, hey, I don't know. To me, like I said, if you're trying to not coerce me, but if you're trying to convince me to stay, and you're convincing me to stay and putting me in a big match with MJF at a big show and a big angle is convincing me to stay, which it very much could, I feel like
there's also
the second part of it would bother me. I'd be like, oh, so you don't trust me? You're going to have me lose now.
There's also the possibility, and again, we're never going to know this, and I feel like I wouldn't say that Daniel Garcia is like this, because it doesn't seem like he is. For all intents and purposes, he seems like a straight guy. He seems like a really like smart and not someone that tries to get over on people.
Yeah.
But it could be also possible, and I'm not defending the billionaire, I promise. I'm only throwing this out as an option of what could have potentially happened. That Daniel Garcia said, yeah, I'm thinking of resigning. Yeah, giving them the positive.
Oh, for sure.
And then they bring him back and they do that angle. And then that week, he ends up.
Yeah, they readdress it. They go, hey, where
reversing it a little bit. And they're like, and then they go, oh, well, now we have to have you not win.
Yeah.
So that could also be possible. I'm not saying that it's out of the realm of possibility, because
100%.
we don't know what people's motivations are for doing certain things unless they specifically say it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're ever going to know the motivations here. So
no, I don't either. And time will tell. We'll find out sooner or later where he's going. Like, there's either going to be a report that says he resigned or he's going somewhere else. Like, we're going to find out. We're going to find out sometime, you would think soonish, about where he's going. And then I think that'll kind of lead into, if we wake up in 2 weeks and we find out that Daniel Garcia is heading to NXT or heading to WWE, whatever, then we really know, okay, well, that's why they fully did that at All Out, because he might have told them, hey, I'm on my way out. Or if we wake up in 2 weeks and we find out that he re-signed with AEW, that to me would be like, then why the hell, and again, like Johnny said, it was optimistic that they did what they did at the end of this match and kind of left it open that if he does re-sign, he lost the match, but he still kind of got one up on MJF and took him out.
Oh, so him, to put the pin on this finally, him beating up MJF after the match was great. That was a really good beatdown angle to continue a feud for them. Should Daniel Garcia leave? or not. And the thing, though, I wasn't thinking this. If I was thinking this in the moment, then I would have been like, oh, okay, great, next match, wonderful. However, this bummed me the fuck out. We're after 10 minutes. We're bummed me the fuck out because I was convinced by him coming back to TV that he had re-signed. Then after the match, the way that I think it was around the end of the match that I saw the tweet that said that he hadn't re-signed. And it was from Ibu of WrestlePure. And then the angle of him just walking out of the crowd, like, he didn't get an entrance. He didn't get an exit. And they're showing him, like, just leaving the building as some fan. It's like, all right, hey, it's like, ooh. And that really bummed me out, honestly. I couldn't even get into the tag match after this because I was so I remember I DM'd you about it. I was like, I'm so bummed out. I'm not even paying attention to this.
Yeah.
Which was unfortunate because that was actually a good match. But yeah, so like the tag match, just that whole him leaving like that killed me, and I couldn't even pay attention to the next match. So hopefully, like time is going to tell. Like Johnny said, upcoming TV time will tell the future. He'll either be back in AEW at some point, or we see a debut on the first couple episodes of NXT on CW.
We could. Other standouts from All Out for me. I thought Willow and Chris Statlander absolutely killed it in that match. That was my favorite match of the night until we got to the main event. I thought that match absolutely ruled. I thought they set the bar for the main event. They were like, hey, we know you can. They were like, hey, we know you guys are going to do some gnarly stuff and probably take it darker and deeper than we're doing. But here's a hardcore match that's also going to kick ass and like kind of set the pace for that match later on. I thought those two girls absolutely killed it. I loved Statlander winning it too, because that made sense with their feud. I thought they killed it. Ospreay and Pac, amazing.
That's the match that brought me back.
Amazing.
It's like, just okay, incredible. I'm back. What an incredible match.
Incredible stuff. Again, a lot of these matches on All Out, we kind of knew who was winning. I felt like the results were never really in doubt of a lot of these matches. But Ospreay and Pac was incredible. For me, I thought obviously it was a better showing than All In for Mercedes with Sheeta, but it still to me she had the worst match on the show for the second straight major show for me. And that's a little bit concerning. I don't think either of these, I'm not worried at all when it comes to Mercedes, but to me, I thought, obviously the one at All In was an issue. That was just a stinker of a match. I thought the match with Sheeta was a good match, but I thought there was a strong section of the match where, and it's not anyone's fault, but Mercedes clearly cared about keeping her wig on more than what was supposed to be happening in the match, because her wig, she was having issues with her hair and it affected the match. And the whole end, the last like 5 minutes of that match just felt weird. Not bad. It wasn't bad. Like, we were all watching Mercedes and Britt and we were like, holy crap, this is terrible. Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I didn't feel that way with this one. Like, I still thought it was a good match, but it was, it kind of lost its way halfway through. And I feel like they just kind of puzzled it together to the finish. It just felt odd. So I was kind of a little bit bummed about that, because you know how I feel about Mercedes, and the more it's more about what dumbasses are going to say about it more than what I see with my eyes. But that was kind of a bummer. But the two things I obviously want to talk about before we kind of go into Dynamite is, obviously, we have a world title match. Bryan Danielson versus Jack Perry. I thought this was a great match. I thought the finishing sequence of this match was really good. I thought Jack Perry did well here. Yeah. But really what people are talking about is what happened after. Danielson retains, as we expected. And then we see the Elite come down to the ring. And it looks like they're going to kind of... What was that?
Patriarchy.
Oh, that's right. I lied. So we see Christian come out, and it's like, oh, damn, yeah, Christian and the patriarchy. Oh, he's going to cash in. He's going to do that thing. Here we go.
There was. So let's set the stage here. So Luchasaurus kill switch, whatever, pops up.
Yeah.
Behind Danielson, knocks him out. Then him and Jungle Boy. There we go. So I was gonna say Luchasaurus.
Yeah, they have their little face off, which
was
nice.
They have their little thing. That's like, oh, what's going on here? Then Christian Cage comes out, and then Jon Moxley.
Yeah,
and now Claudio and the rest of them come out.
The rest of the gang comes. So like Moxley's been back for a few weeks now, and he's basically stayed away from the BCC. What he's been doing has been completely separate from anything that the other guys are doing. But in this moment, we see Moxley pop up first. Tom, we are going to talk about that. We're just going over a little bit of All Out, and then we're diving in because that is something we are going to talk about, my friend. Thanks for popping in the chat and saying hello. We see Moxley, and he's the first one we see by himself, and it's like, oh, okay. And the whole time I'm standing there, I'm going, no. I go, he's going to turn on Bryan. This is what's happening here. I didn't even think about the other guys. I was just like, oh, what the hell's Moxley doing out there? Whatever. And then we see the other guys. We see Pac. We see Claudio. We see Wheeler. We see Marina. They're all out there. They all go in the ring. Moxley lifts Danielson up. He hugs him. He kisses him on the forehead.
Yep.
He gives him the Godfather. I know it was you, Fredo. Even though Danielson didn't do anything wrong. No worries at all, man. No worries at all. Trust me. That segment last night got my blood moving. We're going to talk about that in depth. And then he kind of walks. After he kisses Danielson, he kind of walks away. We see Claudio. And Claudio kind of lifts Danielson's arm up, kind of gives him a little bit of a hug too, and then he just European uppercuts Dan. And Danielson didn't even have the reaction of like him being hurt, like physically hurt from the uppercut. He just sits down and he's just looking at him like he has no idea this was coming. And then we see the thing that kind of made the internet go a little bit crazy. Now I'm going to say something about this. We see Jon Moxley with a paper bag. And he puts it over Danielson's head and suffocates Bryan Danielson to the point where he is unconscious. Not dead. Could have attempted murder. Could have been. But until he's unconscious.
Not now, the time of the night.
Two things that stuck out to me here, Drew. One, I don't think people are giving Wheeler Yuta enough praise for this segment because he was excellent.
This was Emmy performance.
He was excellent, and I think he added so much more to this turn when we all figured out that, holy shit, they didn't tell Wheeler Yuta. He had no idea. This was all behind, like the layers of this, of like how this was Pac, Claudio, and Moxley that did it, and Wheeler had no idea. He's crying. He wants to help, and Pac's not attacking him or beating him down either. Like, they didn't do that. He's just holding him. Just like, hey, man, just like, relax. Like, it's okay. Like, just the whole plan of it and seeing that was incredible. And all right, so how I feel about the paper bag before I hand it to you, it's not one of those things where I was like, oh my God, I can't watch AEW anymore. This is just too much, the children and all that. It's not like that for me. But for me, being a 30-year wrestling fan, that's a bit much. That's a bit much for me. I didn't care about it. I'm not upset about it. It was fine. You're trying to kill somebody. That's a little too much. It's a little too much. It's a little too much. At least in my opinion. That is, I don't tune into my wrestling to see people getting suffocated with plastic bags. And the Hangman Swerve match would have made sense to me because those guys want to kill each other. The plastic bag thing of it for me, and again, not to the level where AEW should be canceled and I'm never going to, it's not like that. And even in the moment, I watched it and I was like, all right, yeah, whatever. It's just not for me. Just not for me. A little too much. A little too much for me. With that being said, Drew, if I put a plastic bag over your head and I was suffocating you, what's the first thing you're doing?
I'm going to try and get it off of me.
You're ripping the fucking bag. Bryan, I know you just had a big match. Rip the fucking bag. You can easily rip the bag. Your hands were free. But you know what actually I thought was more disturbing than the actual plastic bag portion of it was the emotionless face of Jon Moxley
that was
when he's doing it, because he does not give one shit that he is potentially killing someone who is like been in a group with him for 2 years, a brother, a family. Dude, Tom, I'm right there with you, man. Wasn't a huge fan of the plastic bag thing, but I loved all the violence in Hangman and Swerve. But the plastic bag, like I said, and when I say a bit much, I don't mean it from a level of where I was shocked or like, like I said, oh my God, I can't, this is way, no, it wasn't that, but it was just kind of like, you could have done something else. You could have done something else.
I have a distraction here. My apologies. But
hey, we're cat family. We're cat friends here at Firmly Love Wrestling. This cat wants all your attention, though. Good Lord.
I'm going to push her off the damn chair soon. But, yeah, so Claudio comes out with the rest of them, and he's dressed up in a white shirt also. And it didn't dawn on me at the time that something was happening. But I was watching this, and the patriarchy leave, and I'm just like, something's weird here. There's something weird here. What's going on? It was only until afterwards that I realized, oh, they're wearing the same stuff. So, what I was worried about. Fall off. Say hi. Say hi to everybody.
Hi. Oh, looks like she's about to take you out.
Goodbye. So, and when she falls off, she goes like this.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes grabs my leg when she's doing that. So anyway, so I was like, oh shit, this is a huge turn, and absolutely what you said. The way that he just falls after an uppercut, is not even like selling the bump at all, but just like complete shock on his face that this just happened. And I almost think I'm wondering if, watching it back, Yuta had not seen that moment.
No, I don't believe so. I think he was either getting into the ring or his back was turned.
His back was turned.
Yes.
So it's almost like, you can see Moxley gives him the nod.
Yeah.
Claudio does the uppercut. Pac has Yuta with his back turned to the whole thing. And then once the bag comes out, that's when he's now turned around and Pac is holding him back. It was beautiful. This was honestly like the coolest angle to do.
Oh, it's a great angle. Great angle.
I have been saying, and I said I think recently, but in a couple of weeks, there is no Blackpool Combat Club anymore. They're never together all as a group, and they don't have matches. They're just like once in a while there's like a triple threat match with usually Bryan, Claudio, and Yuta. But there's been none of that for a while now. So it doesn't make sense for this to even be a group anymore. So the group is officially over.
But they're still the trios champs.
Yeah, so that's another thing too. There's so many variables to this.
Yeah.
That are like, wait, so
clearly,
what?
Because clearly this whole thing has been orchestrated by Moxley. Pac and Claudio clearly knew, and Wheeler Yuta didn't. Well, they're still trios champs with Wheeler Yuta. So are they going to move forward trying to explain to Wheeler Yuta why they did what they did, hoping that he stays with them? Because they didn't attack him. They didn't lay him out. They were just kind of, Pac was very protecting of Wheeler Yuta. He was just kind of holding him there, saying like, let it happen, man. Like that's the vibe that I got. And
Johnny's comment is how I feel about that. Actually, it had to be it shouldn't have just been, oh, we're gonna hit him with our moves and that's it. That was like a statement that made it feel even more that there's this deep-seated hatred of Danielson by Moxley for some reason. which he kind of got into on Dynamite.
Yeah. I don't even think it's, I think the emotionlessness, is that right? Is that the right word? The emotionlessness of it by Moxley. I don't think it was hatred. I don't think it was hatred at all. I think it was Moxley, like what he said on Dynamite. He was like, you just don't have the stomach for this anymore. Like, it's not, it's not that we don't like you. It's not that we don't hate you, but like, we're doing something dark and we're doing something that needs to be done. And we don't think that you would agree or be along for the ride anymore. So we had to do what we had to do, because you just don't have what it takes to have the stomach for what we're going to do. Because I feel like if it was hatred, you would have seen that. Because even in Claudio, the only person that was showing emotion in that ring was Wheeler Yuta. We didn't see Pac's emotion because he's kind of holding Yuta and we don't really see his face. We just kind of see him holding Yuta. Claudio had no emotion, just uppercutted him and turned around and walked to the other side of the ring. And Moxley's potentially killing the guy. And there's no emotion.
Never doubt Eddie Kingston.
Correct.
He said it.
Yeah.
He said Claudio was a snake.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's been very, him and Moxley became friends, but he's been very questionable of Moxley in the past too. So like, I feel like, it was a great angle. And again, like I said, I didn't have the last thing with the bag. I just thought, for me, I'm like, I don't need to see
the last thing that I want to mention about it is this was planted. The seeds of this were planted months ago.
Mm-hmm. Claudio's been kind of iffy with Danielson for a while.
Yeah.
Going back to the CC last year a little bit.
So particularly the moment that everybody calls back to now is right before Anarchy in the Arena.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, Claudio just gets out of the ring and walks to the back while Danielson's going to cut a promo. So after that, there was a backstage thing with Renee, I think, where he was just like, well, I can't support him going into this match in his last year because this is too violent.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not how I feel it should happen. So like, it was like okay, yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
Type of a thing. But man, I'm really looking forward to hearing. So we heard from Pac on Dynamite. I forgot to hear from Claudio also, because I want to get inside his mind also on what's going on. We heard from Moxley. We heard from Pac. We haven't heard from Claudio yet.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then again, they're trios champions. What's happening with Wheeler? Wheeler wasn't on TV last night.
No, he was not.
Is he done with them? Are they going to try and do some sort of manipulation thing?
I think that's where they're going to head. I think that's where, and again, I don't know if he ends up with them or not, or he ends up maybe becoming a good guy out of this little thing here. But like, I feel like that's what they're going to go. Like the fact that they didn't just take him out on Saturday, so he wasn't in the picture and he couldn't affect anything. The fact that they let him stay there and show that emotion, and Pac again wasn't violent. He was just very much like it reminded me of like a movie or a TV show when you're seeing something happen to someone you love and the family members are holding you going like, hey, it's okay. It's okay. Just let it happen. It's okay. Like, that's what it very much reminded me of like, it's all right, man. Just let it out. It's good. No, like, trust me, this needs to happen. Like, it's okay. It's okay. And Wheeler Yuta's just like, no, I want to help. I'm crying. Like, this is my guy, my hero. I want to. And they're like, no, dude. Like, I have a feeling they're going to try to like hope. I think they're going to be hopeful that Wheeler stays with them. Truthfully, I think that's the story of like trying to convince Wheeler that what they did was right. Whether he ends up going along with it or he ends up being broken away from it, that's what we'll have to see. But that's the vibe that I got. All right. And there's more of that on Dynamite that we'll jump into in a minute, but we definitely, at least before we finish with All Out here in our first, 45 minutes here, we got to talk about the unsanctioned lights out cage match. Hangman Adam Page, Swerve Strickland. Hangman gets the victory. Asian Joe. Shout out to Asian Joe. Me and Pluggo joined the Mark Order pod with him last night for a little bit, and that was a fun time as well. Yeah, I think that is probably where I would think it goes. I honestly think that's probably where it goes, but I think they're going to definitely try to move forward with him trying to stay in the group or them trying to convince him so. But Drew, give me your opinions on the unsanctioned cage match between Swerve and Hangman. I did not, I know some people were saying certain things about this match as well. I did not. This match was perfect for me. Like, even with the needle and the chair shot over that, for these two, you could have done anything in that. You could have done the paper bag incident in this match and I would have been okay. I would have been okay with it. But that's actually a good point, to be honest with you, Johnny. That's actually an all right point, because everybody in the group is an ex-WWE person, including Marina. So that might be a good thing to call out, for real.
I don't know if that's the angle that they're going with here, but
I don't either. Although last night, and we'll talk about it, the thing we saw at the beginning of Dynamite, he referenced William Regal. Didn't say him by name, but he clearly referenced him multiple times. So I don't know. But yeah, give me your opinions on Swerve and Hangman before we kind of transition over to Dynamite.
Beautiful violence that I had to look away from at one particular moment.
Was it the needle?
Because the needle spot, because that was ooh, my God. It was that stuff just gets me. And I don't even hate needles. I'm fine with needles. But
yeah, me too.
It's like when I see somebody put eye drops in their eyes, my eyes get like, it's like, so it I know it's a terrible comparison, but
yeah,
just to see somebody get jabbed with a needle through the cheek is not amazing to watch. Hey, Tom.
What's going on, Tom? How you doing, buddy?
It was perfect, right? What Tom did. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. It was perfect. And I really, and it's not even just the match itself, but after the match. Because like I noticed also with this particular segment that I mentioned to you last night, that I want to talk about, there's a thing that AEW does really well, aside from matches, and that's camera angles to catch a specific thing that matters in the story. Hangman wins, and he gets out of the ring. He is obviously the other thing that was the talk of the soft people on the internet.
The chair shot?
The soft people who claim that the other people are soft is the chair shot to the head.
It was clearly a gimmick
chair. Which was a very gimmicked chair.
It was clearly, the thing sounded like a fucking gunshot. It sounded like a shotgun shot, dude. Like a fucking shotgun went off. Clearly gimmick.
So, all these people that are like, shot.
I don't understand the people that said that, but then we're okay with the plastic. Like, if you're looking at this objectively, the plastic, whatever. But
not giving them any more airtime. Hangman gets out of the ring, and he starts walking up the ramp, and then he turns around, and he starts going down the ramp again, and the whole crowd is like, like, oh shit, oh no. That like, oh my God, he's going to go and really make sure that he's dead. But then he stopped. He stops, and the camera goes right on his face. And you can see on his face that he regretted doing that. And he was like, it wasn't that he was going down to attack him again. He was going down to see if he was okay. But he stopped and just like looked down and closed his eyes and turned back around. And then he just he turns around again and he just starts screaming. He gets down on his knees and he's screaming, and that's how the show ends. And then after the match, after the show went off the air, I saw the fan video of him starting to walk towards the babyface tunnel, and then he's freezes and he's like, and then he turns and he goes to the heel tunnel and walks up the heel tunnel.
And I like where your head's at, but I will say, according to the promo we saw on Dynamite, it didn't seem like he had any regret. It didn't seem like he had it.
Well,
maybe in the moment. Maybe in the moment.
In the moment, you can see his face. He looks like concerned that Swerve is dead.
I thought he looked concerned that Swerve was still alive. And I thought that he wanted to go down there to make sure that he fucking killed him. That's the vibe that I got. Not that he felt.
Well, then why didn't he keep going down? Why did he stop?
I don't know. Because I thought he convinced himself, like, no, you did enough. You did enough. You won. You're fine.
What I saw from that was, so we have a disagreement here. That's interesting.
No, I mean, I'm not strong on it. Like, I actually like where your head's at when you're talking like that. I didn't even think of it that way because of the history of these two. I thought that he was going, and Johnny even says that he thinks you're right too. But then he chose the darker path. So I didn't even think of it that way. I was just like, oh, he's going back down there to kill him. And then he had to like restrain himself. Like, nope, you won. You did what you had to do. Relax. And just celebrate the win kind of thing.
What did I say about this? Because I know I said, no, that's wrong. Yeah, because I know I said something about this. Here we go. Okay. Yeah. What I tweeted this that later on that night, that it was a real life feeling moment where you can see the humanity for the last time before the evil knows it's gone too far, and the humanity allows the evil to take over. That was the moment. That was what I saw in that moment, because somebody posted just that last part of him walking down the ramp. You just see his face, and he looks concerned. But it didn't look like anger, concerned. I'm like all the vitriol that he was giving Swerve the whole time leading up to this. It looked like, oh no, I might have gone too far. Is he okay? And then he stopped and just turns around and screams up on the ramp. And it, like, he accepted, I think what the scream was that he accepted that he is a bad guy now.
It's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I didn't think of it that way, but I mean, I like that way, and I think I'm kind of with Johnny, where I think you probably could be right. I just, in the moment with their history and just everything that was going on in that moment, I was just like, oh, he's going back down there to kill him, like to actually make sure he finished the job, type of thing. But that's a good way to put it. So All Out was a fantastic show. And then we transition over to last night's Dynamite, which I thought was a pretty fantastic show as well. A lot of promos for a Dynamite, like a lot of promos.
Yeah.
But I thought it was good because they have Wrestle Dream in a month. You just finished, 2 pay-per-views in the span of 3 weeks, finished up some stories, started some new ones. And I thought last night was a really, really good, like a lot of developments happened last night on AEW Dynamite. And we know what Grand Slam is looking like. It's going to be a pay-per-view, and it looks like that type of stuff. And we're going to get into it. But like, I feel like last night was a good, okay, All In and All Out are over, guys. Here's where we're going. And it kind of set up the next month or so. And I thought it was really, really good. We're going to layer these out. Like we're going to talk about Moxley. And I don't know if you want to still call them the BCC. I don't know what you want to call them yet. We don't know, I guess. They seem like they're still the BCC. They just kicked Danielson out. That's what it seems like to me.
Like this new evil version of the
BCC. Like the bad BCC or whatever. But the show starts and we see back in the parking lot, we see a promo by Moxley. This happened right after they did what they did at All Out on Saturday. This was recorded. And he tells Bryan Danielson, he goes, hey, you don't have the stomach for this. And he goes, and 2 years ago, we made a commitment to build something real, something tangible that would last years and years, long after we're gone. An idea that couldn't be destroyed, not for money or recognition, but because it wasn't worth doing. He says, all I see around here are egos out of control, permeating AEW, and I can't take it anymore. Blood alone moves the wheels of history, and their mentor and the guy who created the group, they don't reference him by name, but there are clear multiple references to William Regal in this promo here. He says their mentor once called Bryan Danielson the perfect wrestler. He goes, he was always the lordship's favorite, but William Regal, not mentioned by name, saw himself in Moxley and said, men like them are what they are and can't pretend otherwise. Moxley then says, I'm not a villain. I'm not a hero, but I know why God put me here. I'm the one true king of these lands. Diplomacy has failed, and today I choose war. And that's what he says. And that diplomacy thing, because later on in the night, about a half hour or so after this, we see this group show up again, and we hear from Pac. I'm trying to find my notes because it happened later in the show, so I'm just trying to get to my notes for the... Hold on, because it happened before the Darby Allin segment. I'm just going to talk about this Mox stuff throughout. There it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So Pac, so they all get in there, and Pac grabs the mic. And Pac says, they've been very, very patient, but enough is enough. The company is broken, and what happened at All Out was inevitable. They are inevitable. Maybe that's what their group name will be. He says, they are inevitable. He says, a product of this festering environment. And as for him, he's been very lost for a very, very long time, but not anymore. Now he has something to believe in, a purpose. And then he repeats, diplomacy has failed. And he goes, and this company is ours. And he drops the mic, and they all leave. So Moxley in the promo and Pac, they both make that line, diplomacy has failed. They both said that. Now, we haven't heard from Marina. We haven't heard from Claudio. But it seems to be, that's a good call-out, Johnny. That's a good call-out. That's why Mox is wearing right, because he's trying to purify the company. That's a good call-out.
Yeah.
So that diplomacy line, yeah, that diplomacy word line used here. So I wonder if that comes into play as maybe a name of the faction, or maybe that's kind of whatever. But I think them both using that diplomacy has failed. That seems to me that's like the silver lining through all. No, not silver lining. That might not be the right word, but you know what I mean. It's like the one thing.
Diplomacy. I think that would be a good name for them. Diplomacy.
Yeah, and I feel like they both mentioning it says something. We fast forward to about a half hour after this, Drew. And earlier in the night to start the show, we actually saw Darby Allin skateboarding into the arena. And the commentators all night have been saying, well, we know that Jon Moxley has wanted to talk to Darby. Darby's here. He's not hiding. Let's go. So then Darby Allin makes his entrance later on, gets on the mic. He said he heard somebody's been looking for him. Well, here he is. And he crouches down and he's kind of looking through the crowd where Moxley usually comes. And enter the fray. We just see Jon Moxley and Marina Shafir this time. It's just the two of them. His hands are up. He's saying, I got nothing on me, man. I'm not coming to fight. I want to talk. I want to talk. He gets in the ring. And he goes, hey, I don't know what you've heard or what you've seen here, buddy, but like between us, nothing's changed, man. Nothing's changed. And Darby basically interrupts him. He says, there's a lot he wants to talk about. He goes, we don't act like superstars. We come from nothing, and we refuse to go back to it. He says, AEW gave me everything. I was living in my car. Have you heard that before, Drew? The first time you heard that Darby Allin was living in his car?
It sounded vaguely familiar.
Yeah, a little bit. First time I heard of it. I don't know. But he said AEW gave me everything, and he wants to tell John a story that he's never told anyone before. He says his first year in wrestling, he was looking for someone to look up to, but every one of them failed him and showed him that his dignity could be bought. You could sell your soul for $1, but not Jon Moxley. He wanted to be just like him because John wanted to do things the way that he wanted to do them. And he said, to this day, Mox will wrestle in a high school gym because he loves this business. He goes, where did we first meet? It was on a gym in the Indies, and I was so nervous that day getting to wrestle my hero. And he goes, and I lost that match, but I gained the confidence that I belong in the ring with you. He goes, there's not a lot of people you can consider family, but when you find one, you hold on to them. And he goes, and what you did on Saturday night to Bryan Danielson, somebody that's supposed to be your family, that made me change my entire opinion of who you are. My entire opinion. He says, I would never do something like that to somebody that I consider family, someone like Sting. He goes, and he knew in that moment he didn't want to be like Jon Moxley anymore. Moxley then interrupts. He says, let's cut to the chase. You got a world title shot at Grand Slam, and that's not going to happen anymore because the champion is indisposed. And then he says, but it's a blessing in disguise, Darby, because also you're not ready for that. You're not ready for that moment. He goes, I don't have time to explain, but I need you, Darby, to give me your title shot. And he asked Darby to hand over his title shot. Darby goes, what do you think? I'm stupid? And this was the best line that Darby said. He goes, what do you think? I'm stupid? You've been drinking again, dude? He goes, because he's sounding like everybody he hates in the back, self-entitled, and I'm not just going to give you the shot. So if you want it so bad, do something about it. Moxley said, Moxley then goes, if you want me to earn it, fine. I'll earn it at Grand Slam. You, one-on-one with me, your shot on the line. And he said, I'll teach you another lesson and show you where you stand on the food chain, which will always be far below me. Then Darby says, he says, oh no, Moxley says, you'll never be world champion, but I believe in you. What the hell did he say? I'm trying to get my notes are a little jumbled. He said, it says, Allen will never be world champion, and he believes in him and has his back, and he doesn't like to say it to him, but trust him when he says, you got no idea what's going on here, man. He goes, you got no idea what's going on. So it feels like Moxley, when he's starting to talk to people, he's talking in that way where he's just like, none of you understand the greater thing that's going on here. There's a greater thing that none of you get yet because you don't know yet. So it obviously, it feels like
maybe there's a shockwave coming.
Maybe. Who knows? And that's really it. Darby accepts and says that if he wants to burn AEW to the ground, don't be surprised when I shove you into the fire. That's what Darby says.
This was one of his best promos.
It was good. Honestly. It was very good. It was very good.
I really love this promo from him.
Yeah.
So yeah, this whole arcing angle throughout the night. Man, I gotta tell you, I am really excited to see what's going on here. This is they obviously have something big planned.
Yeah.
What it is yet, we don't know. But I'm thinking something is happening at Grand Slam.
Maybe.
Because the following week is the 5-year anniversary show.
Yep.
So they're either closing out Grand Slam with the big angle to set up everybody wanted to know what happened on the 5-year anniversary, or they're going to tease that the next week the big thing is going to happen. So, which is nice because Grand Slam is a show I'll probably go to, so I'll be there. So I'd like the big thing to happen there, but if I get to tease, that'll be good enough also.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really, really excited to see what's going to happen. Darby's one of Darby's best promos, as I said. And also, this new version of Jon Moxley is just really good. And I don't know if is it a new version? Has he ever been like this before in his career? I'm not sure. I know he's been a heel before. Before
I feel
WWE and stuff.
I feel like this is definitely a different vibe for Moxley. It's more, it's more like a laid back, calculating. We've seen him be a heel before, but I don't know. I feel like it's a very meticulous, calculating type of character we got here. He's moving slow. He's talking slow. He's saying some things, but it's clear that there's a bigger thing at play that he's not telling everybody and not telling us. So it feels like it's a very like calculated thing that we got going on. And something big is going to happen at Grand Slam in New York, and it's probably going to be Shane McMahon. But we'll see. But I do think something greater. There's definitely going to be a lead. Like, I feel like there's going to be somebody that is even greater than Moxley that's going to be in charge of this.
It might, maybe not even Shane. I mean, I don't want to. There's no report that's come out that says Shane McMahon is joining AEW, so I don't want to be like, oh, hyping it up that Shane is coming in and doing something.
But I also don't want to live in a world where we have to wait for a report for everything that happens. I mean, I don't need a report for every new wrestler that's showing up in a different. Like, I would like to be surprised sometimes.
Yeah, right.
So, like, you know what I mean? Like, I
agree with you. I like that. I like that. That there isn't a report right now. Yeah, I like being surprised as much as I love Fightful Select and all the news people out there do their stuff. And you know, it's a business, and people are making money, myself included. So you know, I have no problem with the Dave Meltzers and the Sean Ross Sapp.
Oh no, I respect.
Not that I'm saying you do, but
no, I respect Sean more than anybody. I'm just like, for me as a wrestling fan, like, there are certain things I want to know about from reports and things like that. But like, if Shane, let's just say hypothetically, it is found out that at Grand Slam in a few weeks that Shane McMahon is the guy that's in charge of this. Is hypothetical, people, relax. But if it's found, if we find out that it is, I don't want to know that that's happening from a report that was reported by anybody earlier in the week. Like, I want to be watching the show, whether live or on TV, and it just happened, and I'm like, oh shit, oh my God. Like, that's how I want to feel. I don't want to know earlier in the day or 2 days before, well, Shane McMahon should be showing up in AEW. And then it's like, okay, well, that's still going to be a cool moment in the moment, but it's like, I fucking knew about that. Like, I wish I didn't. I wish I didn't.
The Hurt Syndicate also a possibility to join AEW.
We'll talk about that too.
So, you know, it could maybe, if it's not Shane, maybe the Hurt Syndicate are behind this.
Maybe. And they have a larger group. That'd be fun. Johnny says it'd be cool if the faction was called the Paradigm Shift based on his very first promo in AEW. It could.
Maybe.
But I feel like Moxley is not. I feel like, of what we've seen so far, Moxley is clearly the leader. But the way he's speaking, it's not. There's something above him that is the reason this is happening. Yeah. At least that's the vibe I'm getting.
This is not your company anymore.
This is not your company. This company is ours. Hey, you have no idea what's going on right now. There is a greater, there's a greater thing happen. Like, I just get that vibe that, like, Moxley might be, he's the leader of what we're seeing on the wrestling side or on the show side of things, but I don't know if he's the leader of the whole plot, because we don't even know what the whole plot is yet, which is good.
He may be the enforcer.
Correct. Or he might be, hey, you're the guy that makes this shit happen, but I'm the mastermind. But you're the guy that makes sure this is in motion, or something like that. That's the vibe I'm getting. But regardless, the angle on Saturday at All Out and the way they carried it through last night, very intriguing. This is what I want to see. I want to see where this is going. I want to see, and I'm willing to let it play out because I'm a wrestling fan. Like, drag this shit out. Like, keep me wanting more. I would prefer it to be Shane.
As would I, honestly.
Of those two, I would prefer it to be Shane. But again, we honestly don't know. What if it's...
I don't listen to Bischoff anymore. He's still been talking shit about AEW.
I feel like that's just what he does. Although it's weird because he puts some things over. Like, he puts over Will Ospreay all the time. He puts over MJF. He puts over a lot of people that are in AEW. But when he talks about AEW, I feel like it's almost to the point where it's becoming shtick of his to just shit on AEW.
Yeah.
And he's one of those. That he's not alone. There are plenty of people that do that. But it's annoying.
People have taken, like, because I've seen, like, the thumbnails of his videos are just like one word and his face showing, like, the action of that word. Mm-hmm. The one I see the most is, like, disappointed with his face.
Yeah. All right, as we continue along, Any other last words about the Moxley, this whole thing going on? Do you feel like you have any?
I can tell that I'm gonna be in love with this group.
Yeah,
for sure. That's it. Because even the music, the new music that he has now is so slow.
Yeah, I'm telling you, everything's slow, calculate.
Yeah.
It's just very his facial expressions. He's just kind of like, I don't really care, kind of thing. And it's just, I kind of like I like what we're seeing here. We had Tony Schiavone in the ring, and he introduces Christian Cage in the Patriarchy. They come out. They ask, he's talked about the guaranteed whenever, wherever title match that Cage has. He talks about Nick Wayne. He says Nick Wayne told me word on the street is Christian Cage has infinite aura. That's what he says, infinite aura. And considering that he's carried this company on his back for the last year and a half, most people would say that's true. But he says, but with this contract, it's undeniable. Says Wembley didn't start off how they liked, but he rallied and won the gauntlet match. But something interesting happened in that match. And he starts talking about Kill Switch. And the crowd starts chanting Luchasaurus. And you could see Kill Switch is blocking his ears, but he turns around and you could see he's kind of hearing it. And he's like, all right. You can see he's kind of just like, okay. And then they're kind of, teasing that whole thing as well. Christian calls him a monster, a wrecking ball, a killer. He calls him the most complete big man in the business. And he says he belongs to me. He says, moving on, I'll beat Daniel Bryan. And this is the line. This is the main line, the big line. He goes, Bryan, I'm going to beat you so bad that you'll wish your wife Brie had CTE. So she wouldn't remember what a disappointment you are. Christian. Oh. And yep. And Christian said that now he is the reigning, defending, undisputed next
AEW. They were saying that, I was like, champion. That sounds very, just because Paul Heyman said it so much.
Yeah.
Like I only attribute that the reigning, defending, undisputed. I only think of Paul Heyman when I hear those three words together.
Yep. So I thought that line to Bryan about Brie was, that was like, Christian had that thing in those promos where he would talk about the dead dads and he would say one or two lines that was just like, God damn, Christian, jeez. And I felt like this was kind of one of those. I feel like he hasn't done one of those in a minute. But I thought this was a good line. I'll ask you right now. Do you think, because we're going to talk, you know what I didn't mention? Well, let's talk about Christian first. Do you think Christian is going to be the one that takes the belt off Danielson?
No.
Okay. I don't either. Do you think he's going to try and fail, or do you think he hangs on to it and maybe? I'm going to tell you what I think is going to happen, but I want to hear your answer first.
Well, you know my answer already.
Yeah,
I've said it over and over. You think
Kill Switch or Luchasaurus is going to prevent him?
If he doesn't fucking cost him that match, there was no reason for that win in the gauntlet, the original gauntlet. There's no reason for him to do this. If you are going to do the will he, won't he teasing turn angle for like it's been going on for all year pretty much. It's been I know it's been going on all year because it was teased at World's End at the end of last year, and it was already a will he, won't he thing at that point. So it's definitely been this year and into last year of is Kill Switch going to turn on him? Is Kill Switch going to turn on him? If he does not cost him that match, I am done with that angle. And I never want to think about it again.
It's fair. I hated him winning that gauntlet match. Not that I dislike Christian. Not that I dislike Christian. It only
makes sense if he did it so that he could cost him the match when he cashed it in. It only makes sense if that happens. If that doesn't happen, stupid.
It's fair. We talked about, because we kind of lumped all the Moxley stuff in together. I didn't even take into account. I said something on Twitter last night, and I still believe it. I think Darby is the one. I think Darby is the one.
Take it off Danielson.
Yep. I think Darby is going to find a way to beat Moxley at Grand Slam, whether it is because of Wheeler Yuta or Bryan Danielson himself, or maybe Christian try. I mean, no, because that wouldn't make sense because it's not for the belt. But like, or something happens. I think in the span of the next month, obviously it would make sense for it to be Moxley versus Danielson with the story they're telling. Clearly, that would make sense. And I do think it would be fitting for Moxley to be the guy that takes the belt off Danielson. But I think they're doing this because there was that report a few weeks ago that said that Darby Allin's name was being tossed out back about being a future world champion sooner than later.
Well, he was supposed to have the title shot at Grand Slam.
He was supposed to have the title shot at Grand Slam. So I think them changing that to him and Moxley, you give Darby a big match and a big win over somebody like Moxley. And then you have in Washington, 2 Washington guys, because Darby is a Washington guy as well. And he goes over Bryan as the new champion. I think Darby could be the one. I think Darby could be the one that does it. Now, I don't disagree with Johnny either. I don't know if he has to be the one that retires Danielson, but I don't know. I feel like the promo we saw last night was, the story is kind of leading you to automatically be like, well, of course it's going to be Moxley and Danielson. That makes the most sense. And sometimes in wrestling it does. And if it does, I'm not going to be upset about it. But I got the vibe during that. I'm like, this is going to be them turning Darby into a world champion superstar in a 3-week span. Like that final push to be like, holy shit, he beat Moxley and now he's going to beat Danielson for the belt and he's our guy moving forward. Like I get that vibe.
There's something weird about this though for me because we're going to mention something else. I guess maybe we'll just mention it now because I have to talk about it because it's going to lead into my opinion on this. I don't understand why all of a sudden, they have that great promo with Moxley and Darby, and Moxley says, "Oh, the champion is going to be indisposed for Grand Slam." But then later on in the night, Nigel McGuinness comes out and is like, "Hey, guess what I got? A title match, just a match in general with the world champion that Moxley just said wasn't going to be at Grand Slam, which was the reason why Darby wasn't getting his title shot."
But it was prefaced by if he decides to show up. So it wasn't like this is a guaranteed. He said he had the contract. Bryan just needs to show up and sign it, kind of thing. So I didn't get the vibe.
But I can't see why he wouldn't.
No, exactly. Which makes me think that if he shows up to have that match, why wouldn't he try to get some revenge on Moxley?
But then why doesn't Darby just have his match with Danielson then? It's confusing to me because
it is. Look,
they did the Nigel McGuinness walks in and talks to Christopher Daniels about talking to Tony Khan.
Yep.
They did that before the Moxley Darby Allin interaction.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I was like, but wait, but why is Tony Khan have a contract for a match between Nigel McGuinness and Bryan Danielson when Moxley said that Darby was supposed to face Danielson
at
the same show?
He won that gauntlet match for that. Yeah. I mean, Darby's been promised this world title match for a while now. And it was guarantee.
I'm saying in the promo.
Yeah.
Moxley says that he's not going to be facing Danielson at Grand Slam because Danielson isn't going to be at Grand Slam. But then Tony Khan makes a match between Nigel McGuinness and Bryan Danielson at Grand Slam.
Yeah.
But that should be Darby's match, not
100%.
Nigel McGuinness's match.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I think Darby's going to be the one. Because you took away if Danielson's going to, we all know why. Because Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson is a match that Tony Khan clearly wants to run. We all want it. And I think they're looking at this landscape and I think they know, because I think honestly, after every match he has, I think it takes a long time for Bryan Danielson in real life to recover from the matches he's having. Like, I feel like that's why we're at where we're at right now.
But I then wouldn't have had Moxley say that Darby was supposed to fight Danielson at Grand Slam if Grand Slam is going to come around and he's still going to be fighting anyway.
Like
he's fighting somebody else.
Yeah, I guess you had to address it a little bit though, because I knew that they were fighting, that Darby was fighting for the title at Grand Slam. We've known about that for months now. So I guess you had to address it somehow. I mean, again, I agree with you. I think the storyline way of it is a little clunky because it's like, oh, you're not having your world title. Like you said, you're not having your world title match now because I took the champion out. Okay, well, an hour later, the champion potentially is actually going to show up at Grand Slam, but he's going to fight this guy instead. And again, clearly this is, hey, if we don't do this at Grand Slam, we're never getting this match. And we need to get this match before Bryan's done. We just need to. So they figured, again, I think they could have been cleaner about it. I think a way that you could have done it personally is have the Moxley Darby thing happen the way it happened. That match is set in stone. We don't hear from Bryan. And then Bryan shows up next week on Dynamite. And he's like, hey, I'm all right. Or he shows up, the week before, whatever. He shows up on the next couple weeks and he goes, hey, no, I'm good. I'm good for the title match. And Tony goes, oh, well, we already made this other match for, whatever. But, and then they could have done the Nigel thing. I think having it on the same show is kind of like, all right, well.
They could have, so what they could have done is they could have used Grand Slam to have a further beatdown of Bryan Danielson by Moxley's group to then have him be weakened for the match at Wrestle Dream instead of
they still might do, but like the whole thing is
so how I would have done that is I would have maybe had Nigel McGuinness join Moxley's group.
Good.
Which could still happen. Technically
good. I guess my question to you would be, if we know that Danielson, let's just say that we all know Danielson is done at Wrestle Dream. That's it. Where do you get them? Because like I said, they clearly, and we all want it, but they clearly are like, hey, we need to have this Nigel Danielson match before he's gone. We need to do it.
Oh, well, but they still do it. But I'm saying have Nigel join Moxley's group, then have the match between Danielson and him at Grand Slam, and have Darby's title shot be for Wrestle Dream, not Grand Slam.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's where we're gonna. Yeah, I think that's where we're going. I think the winner of that match is going to face Danielson at Grand Slam. Like, yeah, there was. I just think there was a cleaner way they could have done it, because it was a little like, oh yeah, he's not going to be there. Your title match doesn't exist. I feel like Moxley should have not said that line. Yeah. He should have just kind of been like, hey, your match at Grand Slam isn't happening because, he could have mentioned because, again, you don't want to, but he could have just said, I don't think you're ready. I don't think you're ready for that world title match at Grand Slam. So that match is not happening at Grand Slam. I talked to Tony or whatever. It's not happening at Grand Slam. So instead of that, you need to get through me. Because if you can get through me, then I'll know you're ready. Or something like that. And then they could have still got to the match they're having at Grand Slam. If Darby beats him, then it's kind of, okay, go for it. I don't know. I just feel like I just have this, like, it makes so much more sense for it to be Moxley and Danielson because of what we saw on Saturday, but I just have this feeling that it's Darby. Dude.
Unless
I just have this feeling
Danielson loses at Wrestle Dream, and then the last match after that is Moxley. Like the heated, it's so heated at that point between two of them that he's like, all right, I lost the belt. I know I said I lost the belt, and when I lose the belt, I'm done.
Yeah.
But I need to settle this first, and then I'm done.
I think that could happen. I honestly think that could happen. And he goes, you know what? Like, yeah, he loses the belt, puts Darby over. We have our new, fresh, first-time AEW World Champion in Darby, one of the pillars. We'll see how that goes. And then Danielson, I could see him coming back and going exactly what you just said. Hey, I know I said I was going to be done when I lost the belt, but this MFer here, I got to settle this shit. And then you could have Moxley retire Danielson. And then it's, okay, well, however they do it. And then, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to Darby Allin goes over in Washington, and then we see Christian Cage cash in on Darby and become the world champion, and then Darby chases after Christian. They have a history from their TNT title days. I think that's a way you could do it. Maybe not happen that moment because it's in Washington. Let Darby have that moment, but maybe the following Dynamite or something.
I think that I don't remember who I heard this from. I think that Nigel McGuinness is doing that so that Christian Cage can cast in.
Maybe that could be a thing too.
And I think they're gonna. I hope if that's what it is, and they do that angle, and Christian Cage comes down.
Yeah. So what if Christian Cage wins at Grand Slam, and then you get to Christian Cage and Darby, and then Danielson can come out and affect the Darby John Moxley match and get involved. Maybe even Danielson and Yuta together. Who knows? They could affect that match. Darby wins, and then it ends up being, I agree, and Drew has been saying that for a long time, Scott, but I agree. They seem to be telling that story. Yeah, they seem to be telling that story that is a strong thing that could happen. But
although I worry with him going like this last night, that's not what's happening.
Yeah.
He shouldn't be doing this anymore. He should be like, oh yeah, I know, guys. I know. Don't worry. It's coming.
But if Wrestle Dream is
that's not what
Yeah, if Wrestle Dream is it and he's going to retire and he wants to retire in Washington State, you could do that where Nigel and him have the match. Nigel is kind of doing because Nigel loves Christian. How much does Nigel glow at that table about Christian and how great he is and all this stuff? And you could have that. Christian becomes the world champion at Grand Slam, which would be unexpected.
I do not want that.
I'm not saying I want it either. But if that were to happen, then what you said about Danielson being like, hey, I know I said this, but I got to take this guy out, then that match could happen at Wrestle Dream with Moxley and Danielson, but not for the title. And then you would have maybe Darby and Christian for the title, where Darby gets crowned in his home state for the title, and then you could do the There's a lot of ways you can go about it.
I am going to be... I mean, now Grand Slam is not going to be at Arthur Ashe next year. We already know that's going to be in Australia. But I will be super bummed out if I watch Danielson lose the title. I want to see him with the title. I want to see him leave with the title. I do not want him to lose I don't want to see him lose the title. I know he's going to at some point, but I just don't want it to be a Grand Slam.
Yeah, I don't care. They gave him the belt. In my opinion, I don't think they ever should have. But they gave him the belt. He has the belt.
Watch your mouth, sir.
Sorry, dude.
You watch your mouth, sir.
I've been open to say this.
How dare you?
I have been very open about this. It does AEW a lot of good to have Bryan Danielson's name on the lineage of that World Heavyweight title. So I do think, in general, it was the right thing to do to make him a champion. I just feel like he should have already been a world champion way back when he first came, instead of now, because it feels like a consolation prize to me. Oh, you're retiring soon? Here you go.
He should have won 2 years ago at Grand Slam when him and Moxley faced each other for the title.
I agree. And then
guess what? And I thought it was going to happen, and it didn't happen, and I was bummed out.
Okay, Drew. So if that would have happened, think about how much more juice would be in the story we are currently being told now. Because Moxley could have been, hey, a couple of years ago, you beat me. For the belt.
Yeah.
There would be even more juice in it. You know what I mean?
So, I agree with you there, yeah.
Yeah, so for me, again, I always feel like I always have to preface it because people are very, I am not upset that Bryan Danielson.
Who is people here exactly? I am people.
No, yeah, but you're not alone. People. Everybody and again, in my opinion, he's the greatest wrestler in the history of North America. All right, he's great. I'm happy that he was a champion before he left, but right now in this moment with him being the belt, he can lose it to anybody. I don't care because I know it doesn't really matter. It just doesn't. And that's the thing that's upsetting to me is like, if you would have given it to Danielson a couple years ago or when he first got there, it would have it meant a lot because it was a great moment to see Danielson finally become AEW World Heavyweight Champion. But for me, it was given to him as a consolation prize because he's leaving. So it didn't mean as much than it should have. And again, I will go to the grave saying that the main event of All In should have been the main event that we saw at All Out with Hangman and Swerve for the title. Because that's the best feud they maybe have ever told.
Allowed to have that opinion.
Yeah. And you are too. And your opinion is very biased because you love Bryan Danielson. And I love Bryan Danielson too. But I don't love Bryan Danielson enough to just give him a world title because he's retiring in 2 months. You don't have to be here, Bubba, so you can piss on off, bro, if you think so. Don't care about your opinion. You are entitled to your opinion, but I don't like your opinion. So it can
be wrong and stated so.
Correct.
Thanks for coming, though.
Thanks for coming in the view, though. Appreciate you, buddy. But as we move on to the rest of Dynamite, I think the good thing is, Drew, we're talking right now and we're talking about, hey, they could do this, or it could go this way, or it could go this way. And I think when we can have discussions and wrestling fans can have discussions about multiple ways that things can happen, I think that's a good thing because that means that all of us really don't know what's going to happen. And I think wrestling is in a better spot when we don't know everything that's going to happen. And I think it's more enjoyable and funner. All right, as we move forward, we had a TNT championship match. It was the Scapegoat, Jack Perry, going one-on-one with Lio Rush. Good little match. A quick match, but they did really well for the short time they had. Jack Perry retained the title. Good to see that Jack Perry cares about the earth, though, and just leaves his gas-guzzling short bus just running the whole time.
I love that he
never turned it off.
He just came into the arena, opened the door, walked to the ring, had the match, left the arena, got in the bus, drove off. That was hilarious. I like that gimmick. I think that's really fun.
It was hilarious. I liked it.
He does not care about the earth at all.
No, I Pluggo on the Between Two Beards account. He said, he tweeted on the Beards account. He goes, Jack Perry does not have a very eco-friendly vehicle. And I retweeted it and I just said, real gas. Cry me a river. Real gas. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. We then get the backstage segment. Yeah, it was a good one. You ever do something where you feel like, oh, this one should be adored by the masses, and it gets 2 likes, and you're like, all right, well, that was a good joke for me and the one other person that saw it. But when I sent that out, I popped myself. I thought I was like, this is a good one. This is a good one. Real gas makes perfect sense. But we have a backstage segment.
I have a hybrid car, but
that's fair. That's fair. I have a hybrid as well. We have Renee Paquette. She is backstage with Hangman Adam Page. And she asked him about what happened on Saturday. And Hangman responds, he said, if I had found out that Swerve had 1,000 houses that he called home, I would have burned down 1,000 houses. He meant every word that he said and every drop of blood that he stole from him. He said, people that saw it in person, make no mistake that I meant it. And now I'm speaking to everyone. If you got in my way, if you stood between me or tried to protect Swerve from me, I will find you and I will hurt you. He then walks away. He attacks a dude. Renee's yelling at him. He walks by Top Flight. They stare him down. And then he walks into the Dark Order. And they have a little bit of a crossover. Evil Uno says, I don't even know who you are anymore. And then as he turns around, Jeff Jarrett is standing there. Jarrett says that his family has been in the business for 3 generations, and I've seen plenty of men walk that dark path that you're walking right now. And he goes, and it always ends the same way, in shame and regret. And then he goes, Hangman, you will regret the day that you laid hands on my wife. And then Hangman attacks Double J. He throws him into a pile of chairs. He's screaming, nobody asked you. Nobody asked you. Karen arrives with Jay Lethal. They run Hangman off. So it seems like now, Drew, we're going to be getting that Hangman Jeff Jarrett match. I thought this was a great segment. Shows that Hangman is still a nut job. He's still obsessed with Swerve, but now he's turning it on everybody else. He's going to go after everybody that got in the middle. Jeff Jarrett was one of those people. I love the backstage interaction with the Dark Order as well. That was a nice little touch because of their history. But I dug this. And I think I'm now that there was rumor that it was going to happen at All In or All Out. It clearly didn't. But I think now you want to tell me that Hangman and Jeff Jarrett are going to main event a Dynamite down the road here in the next couple weeks. All in on that. I think it perfectly fits everything. Totally okay with it. I like this backstage segment. I thought it was well done.
Yeah. And it showed that after his screaming at the end of the show of All Out, he has accepted and fully morphed into a new, darker, evil bad guy.
Yep.
And I'm very interested. I didn't like his music change at first, but now I love it.
Yeah. Yep. That's a good question, Scott. We have Arctic Arcade. He says, after the 1, 2, 3, this is talking about the match with Jack Perry. He said he didn't work his way back. He didn't work his way through the crowd. No crowd work, no posing for the camera. He just kind of walked right back to his bus and got the hell out of there. Like,
no,
he didn't even want to be there.
You didn't, Arctic Arcade, you didn't like that. I actually thought that was great. He just shows up to the arena
and get the hell out.
When his match, I mean, he is buddies with the Elite, so he knows when he's on the card. Yep. Shows up when he's on the card, wrestles, gets back in the bus, and leaves. I think that's actually perfect. I love that.
100%. We then had the Learning Tree segments of the night. Chris Jericho and gang, they show up in a brand new Bentley convertible. Super nice car. He's got his students.
You don't know what happens when you bring your nice car to an arena.
We all do. He's wearing his $7,000 jacket that Orange Cassidy ruined. He says, I have your backpack. I found something inside the backpack that I think is interesting, and I'm going to show everybody what that is later on tonight. We then have a 6-man. It's the Iron Savages versus the Learning Tree. This match was what you would expect. It was, the Learning Tree gets an easy victory. They do all the work. Jericho gets tagged in, gets the victory. And then after the match, Jericho gets on the mic. He whines about the jacket some more. He says he doesn't think I'm going to get the $7,000 back, so I'm just going to keep taking Orange Cassidy's things. But he found something very interesting in the backpack, and he pulls out a framed photo of the best friends when everything was simpler back in the day and they were all friendly. Statlander, Trent, Chucky, and him all in the middle of a ring, hugging each other, posing. And then he says that Cassidy's problem is he's still obsessed with friendship, and he needs the lesson that there are no friends in pro wrestling. So if you think you have a friend, you're probably being used. So get your head out of your ass, forget about your friendship, and give me my money. Now, before we move back to what we see after that, did you notice, Drew, that when he said that about the friends, were you paying attention to Big Bill's facial expressions during this?
It's funny that you mentioned that, because that's exactly what I was talking about earlier with AEW's camera work.
Big Bill kind of had a facial expression looking at Jericho like, once he said there are no friends, if you have friends, you're probably being used. Big Bill kind of went like, okay. Like he was like, oh, good foreshadowing, because let me tell you guys, Big Bill, that dude is over. That guy is over, man. So that is good foreshadowing. Then we see Orange Cassidy appear on the Tron. He says he actually has Jericho's money, just not all on him, but his boys are bringing the rest. And then we see Mark Briscoe driving a front loader with Kyle O'Reilly hanging off the side, riding shotgun. Briscoe drives the construction vehicle up to Jericho's car, and he dumps the coins out in the car. Then Cassidy made some change. He kind of put like a $1 bill in there and took some of the change and stuff like that. And then Jericho and crew were freaking out in the ring. So this is one of those things where, like, great idea. Probably should have tried the execution out before we did it. Because like it was a great idea. The premise of it was good, but I thought the reaction of the coins falling, it was really a dud. It really didn't, you know.
I mean,
It didn't
it was
destroy
not
the
going to
car.
be like the car was going to explode or something.
No, but I don't even think like, I don't know. And then you have Jericho and everybody yelling in the ring, and the crowd is kind of like, okay. Like, what is okay? Like they put your car's not damaged, dude. Like it's going to be annoying getting all that change out of it, but like your car's not damaged at all. Like who cares? It was just kind of like
it might have little dings and scratches now from the coins.
maybe. But to me, it was one of those things where it was like, oh, this was fun. This was a good thing. I just feel like they were expecting more of a oomph when they did the thing with the car, and I feel like it really fell flat a little bit. The coin aspect of it, I just felt like it was like that was literally nothing. But all in all, I thought it's fine. Again, like I love Orange Cassidy, and I've been very up and down with the learning tree, but like I don't need I feel like there could be better things we're doing with Orange Cassidy than rehashing a 4-year-old story with Chris Jericho. I just feel like there's better. I care more about the facial expression that Big Bill made and where that's going to go than I care about seeing this rematch with Orange Cassidy and Jericho. Will it be fine? Yeah. I'm a big fan of Orange Cassidy, but I don't know. I feel like we could be doing better things with Orange Cassidy than just kind of being involved with Chris Jericho again. And that's not like a dig, because you and I have been very up and down with the learning tree. There's been weeks where we really, really liked it. I know you liked Wednesday because you had said something to me in the chat. You were like, this was pretty good with the learning tree. I'm digging it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm that way too. Like I feel very up and down with it. When I look at Orange Cassidy, I just feel like we could be doing better things. I will say though, when Jericho pulled out that picture, that made me feel sad. I felt sad for Orange Cassidy. I was like, oh.
I was like that guy's carrying this big ass framed picture in his backpack this whole time.
I was like,
that
poor
he
guy.
throws and shit.
He just misses his friends. That's sad. That was kind of like, oh, he misses his friends, man. He's got new friends. He's in the conglomeration, fine. But I just kind of was like, oh, damn, dude, that's kind of heartbreaking a little bit that he just keeps that in his backpack because he misses his friends. I thought it was but all in all, what did you think of this segment here before we finish up the show and get out of here with the last few things we got to hit?
Yeah, it was funny. The most notable thing was the Big Bill stare of like, when he mentioned the thing about having no friends in the business.
Yeah.
Because Big Bill is special and is very over. Has been over for a while. 2 summers ago, I was up in Albany at the show that they did. I was doing my like all AEW show loop.
Yep.
And I did Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor. I did Collision. Then I did Dynamite the following Wednesday. And that was when Big Bill and Brian Cage were tag teaming.
Yep.
And everyone was chanting for Big Bill then. So he's been slowly getting over more and more as he's gone on. I think he's a great signing for this company. He's been tag champion, and I see just great things with him. So
100%.
Hopefully, when him and Jericho feud, it's a one and done, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree. Bonkers. We're about to get into Mr. Ricochet.
Oh, interesting.
Right now.
Oh,
right now.
Ricochet. Yes.
Yes. He had a fantastic match with Sammy Guevara. I know a lot of people don't like Sammy Guevara. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's my favorite, but there is no debating that he is a special talent inside the ring. No question about it. And I thought him and Ricochet had a banger, dude. I thought they had an absolute banger. Ricochet looked great here. Second match we've seen him on Dynamite in the last 3 weeks, and he has looked everything all right.
Yeah, I'm good. Okay. I'm just kidding.
And
used to be in my background.
Oh, is that saying? Oh, he signed it for you. Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
So,
I thought this
I've
match
been a
was
fan
great.
of his for a long time.
Oh yeah,
things, up and down, yada yada. Yeah.
Ricochet hits Vertigo at the end of this match to get the victory over Sammy Guevara. But I think Pluggo said it best. He said, sometimes you just got to throw story out and you just got to let two people have a banger. And that's exactly what this was. There was no story leading into this match. It was just, hey, you guys are two of the best in-ring wrestlers on the planet. Go out there and do it. And they went out there and they did it. And they absolutely crushed it. And there was some stuff that happened after the match.
Honestly, this was
incredible.
The match of the night.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know,
it was
the gauntlet match, but this was like as a singular match. This match, it really, I just really hope that great things are happening with Ricochet and this company, and it's already starting off great. And he has been revitalized. Like you can just see the way that that spot that he did when he told the crowd to like move over, and then he did the double hop,
the double jump.
One side's the barricade and the other, and then that move was clean as fucking. It was just incredible. It was absolutely incredible.
It was really, really good.
I hadn't seen a move like that in a long time, even ever. The way that he did that was amazing.
Yeah. After this match, we see the Beast Mortos show up, and he spears Ricochet. And it looks like he's about to beat Ricochet down, but Sammy Guevara grabs a chair. He runs in, he runs Mortos off, and then he helps Ricochet to his feet and raises his hand, and they have kind of a good little moment to end that little segment. Again, hell of a match. And if you're telling me we're going to get Ricochet and Beast Mortos, again, that match will hump as well. I do want to see Ricochet, and I think the Ospreay thing will be probably the first one when we get to it. I do want to see Ricochet get into a story here. Like, I only think there's so many times you can just have Ricochet go out there and have a banger match because that's all he did over there. I need to see a little bit different over here. Like, yes, we're seeing new moves. We're seeing different things that he didn't do over there. I love that. And the matches, Kyle Fletcher and him was fucking awesome. Him and Guevara was fucking awesome. I need to see a character. I need to see a story soon for Ricochet. Because, I mean, you can't just have him on your TV for 7-8 times and he's just having, like, don't get me wrong, having banger matches helps. But, like, we've seen him do that. We know he can do that. He's Ricochet. We know he can do that. I need to see more when it comes to Ricochet, and sooner than later. We then had a eliminator, right? Was it a championship match or was it a championship eliminator match for the
eliminator?
Women's? Yeah, it was a AEW Women's World Championship eliminator match. Mariah May versus someone who I am very, very high on and have been for a while, Queen Aminata. Queen Aminata, every time I see her, she impresses me. Love watching her wrestle. This was a pretty good match here between her and Mariah. And Mariah May ends up winning with the Storm Zero because that is now her finisher, which I actually love. And she ends up winning. But really, post-match, Mariah May gets on the mic and she's upset, Drew. She says, I still haven't had my championship celebration because something is missing. Someone is missing. And she calls for Mina Shirakawa and says, can you please come back? So it feels like we're not getting a full championship celebration until Miss Mina Shirakawa is back. So it seems like we're going to that. Yep, that should be fun. See how that goes, whether Mariah turns on her, maybe she turns on Mariah. Maybe they're just friendly and buddy-buddy. Who knows? There's different things they can do there too. But it seems like we're going to be getting a Mariah May, Mina Shirakawa, either alliance or not soon on television. You are not alone. You are not alone, friend. We do want Mina. Bonkers, you're not wrong. I think it's going to be hard. And I think that's really where AEW is going to have trouble with Ricochet. Because I think we saw Ricochet as that mid-carder who really didn't get anything going for so long that you need to establish why he's going to be different here. And again, like, having banger matches is good, but it's not like he didn't have banger matches in WWE. Like, you need to establish what is going to make the difference of him being here than being over there. Like that needs to, you need to establish that. And I think you got to do that by having him, win a match, win a title early. You got to do something, but you need to establish that he's just not going to be the flashy wrestler who's going to have bangers every week over it. Like it's got to be different. It's got to be different. Throwback. Good to see you, my friend. Hope things are going well. So here we go. That's what Pluggo said last night on the Mark Order Pod. He said that everyone thinks Mina's going to come back and they're going to be friendly. He thinks Mina's going to come back and try to take out Mariah and try to upstage her like she did with Tony. But so again, multiple ways they can go here. We had a small little promo of Hook cutting a promo about Roderick Strong, saying he respects him. He's one of the greatest wrestlers in the world, but he'll fight him for the FTW championship anytime, anyplace.
Grand Slam.
Grand Slam most likely. I still think they should have retired it at All In when he won the belt back. I just feel like I like Hook. The match will be great. Yeah. Hook needs to be doing something than just dealing with the FTW title. And then we're at our main event. Earlier in the night, we had a Callis family segment where Will Ospreay was back there with Kyle Fletcher, Takeshita, and Don Callis. Don Callis goes to Will and he says, "Hey, Will, you've never lost at one of these gauntlet matches. You're kind of a specialist here. Why don't you team up with Kyle and go in this gauntlet match and try to win and become tag team champions?" And Will's like, "Hey, I appreciate that, but I got a lot on my plate. Ricochet's breathing down my neck. I got a lot on my plate." He goes, "I do know I owe you something, but I got a lot on my plate." And Callis goes, "Well, if you do this tonight, we'll consider us even. We'll consider this the thing that you owe us, the favor you owe me." And then Kyle Fletcher is kind of like, "Hey man, come on, let's win. I would love to win the tag titles with you. We're best buds. Like, come on." Ospreay agrees. Takeshita isn't vibing.
Yeah, like
later
that
on,
interaction.
I did too. Later on in the night, we see Okada. He's talking about his title defense, and we see Don Callis and Takeshita come up here, and Callis goes, "Hey, yeah, you did defend your title on Saturday. Congratulations." He goes, "But you didn't pin my guy Takeshita." And Okada goes, "Hey, he's going to be a champion at some point. He's just not going to be the Continental Champion." And then he walks away, and then he comes back, and he calls Don Callis a bitch. Takeshita gets in his face, and we have a little bit of a stare down, and Okada walks off. We then get to the Casino Gauntlet Tag Team main event to crown the number one contenders for the titles at Grand Slam. FTR and Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay are the two teams that start off this match. And I think I tweeted, I was like, "Oh, so we're just going ham right off the jump. That's just what we're doing. We're just going ham right away." Obviously the rules are there can be up to 21 tag teams in this. We only saw 9. But FTR was in this, Grizzled Young Veterans, Fletcher and Ospreay.
Grizzled Young Veterans were technically not in it. Yes. They were supposed to be, but then FTR and them were brawling and went away.
Eminem. We're going to talk about that, Bonkers, because I went off on the Mark Order Pod about this. Eminem was in there, the Acclaimed, the Righteous, good to see them, Top Flight, Undisputed Kingdom.
Eminem was
Mansoor, Eminem collection, yeah. First of all, they had a great spot in this match where they were hitting their moves and then posing and shit. Incredible. And then the team that got the biggest pop of the night. And if I was Tony, I would have changed the ending. And gave it to him. The Outrunners.
That was awesome.
Okay. So first of all, this gauntlet match, very great. Very, very good. Exciting. Multiple spots where everybody gets taken out. It was a fun little match. FTR and Ospreay and Fletcher starting it. Incredible. Grizzled Young Veterans we see come out at one point, and FTR doing another non-FTR thing. Do you think FTR, Drew, and I know we got to get out of here in a few minutes. Do you think FTR, do you think it's like FTR to just throw away a potential tag title opportunity just to fight they're fighting on Saturday. They have a tag match against these people on Saturday. You couldn't wait 2 days, 3 days. You have to what? You're going for a tag
sometimes,
title.
It's just on site whenever.
Yeah. But here's what I wanted to talk about. We see at the end of this, that Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay do get the victory in this match. So at Grand Slam, it will be the Young Bucks defending against Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay. That match is clearly going to be awesome. It's going to be terrific.
However,
like Bonker says, and if you're friends with our buddies, the Mark Order Pod, I got angry about this, and I'm going to try not to get angry because I don't want to go on a tangent because we only have a few minutes left here. But the Young Bucks
go on the tangent for the both of us because I'm just going to agree with what you're saying here.
The Young Bucks cut a promo earlier in the night where they said, "Hey, we've been seeing what you people are saying online about us and our title reign." And they go, "It's not our fault that the other tag teams haven't risen up to the occasion and haven't been ready to replace us and all this." So then you have a tag team gauntlet match to determine the number one contenders for your tag team belts, where we all know the Young Bucks aren't losing this match no matter who they face. We all know this. And you have the only team that is not a standard fucking tag team in your company win the match. What did you do to help your tag team division in this match at all? Because you did nothing. You did nothing. I know that Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher have a history. I know they're friends. I know they've teamed together before. I know they're part of a trio that is considered by many to be one of the better groups in the world. If you want your tag team division to be better, put your fucking tag teams over. That's how you do it. Not by putting two guys together an hour before this match and they win. Stupid. Okay. That's it. Again, this is not Will Ospreay is the best wrestler on the fucking planet. Kyle Fletcher, how much have I went gaga over Kyle Fletcher these last 3 months? These guys are top of the card type guys. They're unbelievable. They are not a tag team in your company. They were put together earlier in the night. And you have legitimate tag teams that have been with you for a while in your company. And you put the two fucking guys you put together haphazardly earlier in the show over. The second the Outrunners should have came out and you heard that pop, you should have changed your fucking mind. You have the Outrunners face the Young Bucks and they lose in a valiant effort match. The Outrunners are over because of that. That's how you get tag teams over. You have them come close. You have them come close and they lose. And then guess what? They're more over because of what happened with the Acclaim 2 years ago. The Acclaim weren't fucking over. They got themselves over. They got close to winning the title. And the crowd made a decision of, hey, we like these guys. We want to see them win the title. And they became the most over tag team in your company. What the fuck are we doing, Drew? What are we doing? You have your champions on your show literally telling you that the tag team division is shit. And it's not their fault that it's shit. And then you have an opportunity to create a new tag team that people will care about because they're going to win this gauntlet. And you give it to not a tag team. Dumb. Okay. That's it. I'm actually officially done with my rant. It's fucking dumb, man. Again, not upset at the two. Like, they're fucking great. Both of them. I love Will Ospreay. Kyle Fletcher, I've said a week ago, 2 weeks ago when he fought Ricochet, I said, this guy should be at the top, like in the world title picture for the decade. Like, he's made himself a top level star. He's taken advantage of his opportunity. It's not about the two dudes that won. It's like, dude, you can't sit there and complain that nobody likes your tag division when you just told me on your TV screen that none of the tag teams are good enough. I don't get it. I'm moving my camera and shit because I'm angry. It's just dumb. It's so dumb.
Well, I'm spent.
Yeah.
Boy, that was a good way to end the show. I have nothing else to say.
Am I wrong?
No.
Am I wrong? It's annoying.
I'm not like as angry about it.
Yeah. And the match at Grand Slam is going to fucking rule, man. We know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be incredible. But we all know the Young Bucks will win no matter who they face. Why not try to build up one of your actual tag teams on your roster?
I was upset that Private Party were not even involved in this.
And no mention of them. Hey, Private Party was supposed to be in this match, but they got earlier. They were in the, whatever. No mention. Where's Private Party? Like, what are we doing, man? It just like, you got, Top Flight. I know we've seen it before, but Top Flight just got rebranded into the Pilot gimmick. You don't think that a big match against the Young Bucks at Grand Slam doesn't do them wonders?
Oh, they're really a trio now, though.
That's true. But I think of the Outrunners. Just got their first victory on Collision this past Saturday. The crowd went fucking bananas. They had easily the biggest pop of this match when they came out. The crowd was like, holy shit, these guys rule. What does a tag, if they win this, how does that hurt anybody? How does that hurt anybody? If the Outrunners were to magically win this match and then they get this high profile match out of nowhere in Grand Slam, they don't win that match. We know they're not going to win that match. But then they come close and the crowd will obviously be super behind them. And then the Young Bucks beat them. And then guess what? The next week or on Collision a few days later, they're an even bigger deal than they are now. Because it's just, I don't know. You had a golden opportunity to build or try to build a new tag team as that next tag team, and you gave it to literally the only non-standard tag team in this match. That's who you gave the victory to.
Again, like I am 100% on your side with this. I didn't feel as angry about it, but I do agree with you because it's, the Outrunners, Private Party. Hell, I would have personally. I think MXM would
perfect, 100%. Another choice that would have been great.
But I know that. See, now again, this was another gauntlet match where the finish was not the best finish. Because we mentioned, the last time there was a gauntlet, it was Christian Cage winning.
Yeah.
Because of Luchasaurus. I'm hoping that the reason why Christian Cage won is because it's to service a story where Luchasaurus is going to turn on him. And to call back to World's End last year when he gave him the contract. So he gave him the contract again, except this time he's going to be the reason why he loses instead of the reason why he wins.
Yeah.
Now, I'm also going to say this win of Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay will only make sense if it's furthering or starting at least the official Don Callis family versus Will Ospreay feud.
Yeah, it's fair.
Which I thought was happening before All In when they did that. They did that backstage segment where Will came to Kyle's aid. This was before the MJF match.
Yeah.
Will came to Kyle's aid, and he was locked in the room. And then Kyle said, and then Kyle said, "Hey, you know who deserves that move? The Tiger Driver, that guy," and pointed in that direction. And Don Callis came in from that direction. So, yeah. Let's end now.
Sorry that I went on that long of a rant. I was gonna really try to keep that to a minute, but it just. And I get what they're doing. They're doing the Will Ospreay is undefeated in gauntlet matches gimmick. Like I get what they're doing. It's just. Put over your own fucking tag teams. Like put over your own you want the tag team division to be better? Start putting over your tag teams. Because the only team you put over the last year has been your champions who have defended it once in 80 days. Like, come on, man. Come on. Anyway, on that note, God bless. Drew, you know, do your thing.
You
Point
can
to your-
follow me here
There you
and
go.
all the stuff I'm at and what I'm
Yeah.
doing.
You can follow me here at JPJ Loves Gaming. Tonight, 8 o'clock, Between Two Beards with Pluggo. You know the drill. Drew and I will see you next Tuesday for Firmly WWE, but we'll see you here every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. here on Love Wrestling. We appreciate everybody in the chat. Thank you, everybody, for all your cooperation today. Some new friends in the chat, some old friends. We love you all. We wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for all of you guys, honestly. So thank you all. Drew and I will see you next time. And until then, you know the drill. Peace out.